Have you ever wondered why we dream or why certain patterns keep repeating in your life? This is where the concept of psychoanalysis comes into play. A revolutionary idea, psychoanalysis was brought to life by a brilliant mind, Sigmund Freud. Born in the late 19th century, Freud is often hailed as the father of psychoanalysis, a theory that has had a profound influence on the field of psychology. His theories have sparked numerous debates, provoked thought, and have led to a deeper understanding of the human mind. The crux of psychoanalysis lies in its focus on the unconscious mind, the part of our psyche that is not immediately accessible to our conscious awareness. Freud proposed that this unconscious mind greatly influences our behavior, with past experiences and suppressed desires shaping how we act and react in our everyday lives. Intriguing, isn't it? Let's delve deeper into this fascinating theory. Imagine your mind as an iceberg with only a small portion visible above the water. This is how Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, described the structure of the mind. According to Freud, our mind is divided into three main parts: the conscious, the preconscious, and the unconscious. Now let's delve into each of these parts. The conscious mind, the tip of the iceberg above the water, is what we're actively aware of. It's our immediate reality, the thoughts we're actively thinking, the words we're speaking, the actions we're doing. It's the part of our mind we can easily access and control. Just beneath the surface of the water, we find the preconscious mind. This part of our mind contains thoughts, memories, and feelings that we're not actively thinking about, but we could bring into awareness if we wanted or needed to. For example, what did you have for breakfast yesterday? You weren't actively thinking about it, but now you are. That's your preconscious mind at work. Then, deep beneath the surface of the water, in the vast, shadowy depths, lies the unconscious mind. This is the largest part of our mind, according to Freud, and it holds our deepest desires, our biggest fears, and our most primal instincts. Much like the majority of an iceberg remains hidden beneath the surface, the unconscious mind is hidden from our conscious awareness. We can't access it directly, but it influences our thoughts, feelings, and actions in profound ways. The unconscious mind is also where Freud believed our repressed memories and unresolved conflicts reside. These elements, though hidden, can manifest in our dreams, slips of the tongue, and even in our behaviors. The mind, according to Freud, is like an iceberg, with the largest part hidden beneath the surface. Understanding this concept is the key to understanding Freud's psychoanalytic theory. It's a fascinating journey into the depths of our own minds, a journey that we'll continue to explore in the next scenes. Did you know your mind has its own power struggle going on? In the world of Freud's psychoanalytic theory, the human psyche is a battlefield of three distinct forces: the ID, the ego, and the superego. Each plays a unique role, and their interaction shapes our behavior and personality. First up, we have the ID. If our mind were a ship, the ID would be the pirate, driven by the desire for treasure and adventure. The ID operates solely on the pleasure principle, seeking immediate satisfaction of all desires, wants, and needs. If you've ever had an irresistible urge for a midnight snack, that's your ID talking. Next, we have the superego, the counterbalance to the ID's wild tendencies. If the ID is the pirate, the superego is the Royal Navy, upholding rules and striving for moral perfection. The superego embodies our internalized societal and parental standards of behavior. It's the voice in your head that scolds you for reaching for that third piece of cake. Caught in the middle of this ongoing battle is the ego. The ego is the ship's captain, trying to navigate through the stormy waters of the ID and superego. The ego operates on the reality principle, striving to satisfy the ID's desires in a realistic and socially appropriate manner. It's the part of you that finds a compromise, like having a small piece of cake now and saving the rest for later. The interaction of these three entities is a dynamic and ongoing process. The ID and superego are constantly pulling in different directions, and the ego is perpetually trying to maintain a balance. This internal tug-of-war influences our decisions, emotions, and behavior. Remember, none of these entities are bad or good. They are parts of a whole, each with their own function. Understanding them can help us understand why we do what we do, why we want what we want, and how we can better navigate our inner world. So, the ID, ego, and superego are constantly in a tug-of-war, shaping our actions and reactions. Ever thought about how your childhood experiences might shape your adult personality? Well, this concept is central to Sigmund Freud's theory of psychosexual development, which suggests that our childhood experiences and the pleasures we seek during these formative years play a significant role in shaping our adult personality. Freud proposed 5 stages of psychosexual development: oral, anal, phallic, latency, and genital. Each stage is associated with a particular erogenous zone that is the main source of pleasure and potential conflict. Let's start with the oral stage, which spans from birth to roughly 18 months. Here, the focus of pleasure is the mouth, with activities like sucking and biting. If a child's needs are either under or oversatisfied during this stage, Freud believed they might develop an oral fixation in adulthood, which could manifest as smoking, overeating, or excessive talking. Next up, the anal stage, lasting from 18 months to 3 years. This stage is all about toilet training, a child's first encounter with authority and societal rules. Freud theorized that too strict or lenient toilet training could lead to an anal fixation later in life, resulting in either an overly orderly personality or a reckless, careless one. The phallic stage, from 3 to 6 years, is where children discover the physical differences between the sexes, leading to the Oedipus and Electra complexes. Unresolved issues here can lead to confusion about sexual identity and relationships. The latency stage, from 6 years to puberty, is a period of relative calm. Sexual drives quiet down and children focus on learning skills and knowledge. Finally, the genital stage begins at puberty and lasts into adulthood. This is where sexual interests mature. If earlier stages have been successfully navigated, the individual should now be capable of balanced love and work. Freud believed that unresolved conflicts at any of these stages can lead to fixation, influencing adult behavior. Remember, though, that Freud's theories are just that, theories. They've been the subject of much debate, but nonetheless, they've had a profound impact on psychology. Freud believed our early experiences play a vital role in shaping our adult lives. Whether you agree or not, it's fascinating to consider the potential influence of our early years on who we become as adults. Ever found yourself doing something, but you're not sure why you did it? This is where Sigmund Freud's concept of defense mechanisms comes into play. These are unconscious strategies that our ego employs to cope with reality and to maintain our self-image. Freud postulated that our mind is like a battlefield, where the ID, ego, and superego are constantly at war, often leading to anxiety. To alleviate this tension, our ego develops defense mechanisms. These are not necessarily negative. They can be our mind's way of helping us manage our feelings, particularly when we're under stress or facing traumatic events. Let's dive into some examples to better understand this fascinating concept. First up is repression, perhaps one of the most widely known defense mechanisms. Repression is the unconscious blocking of unacceptable thoughts, feelings, and impulses. The key term here is unconscious. We don't deliberately choose what we repress. The mind does it on its own. For instance, if you've ever forgotten an unpleasant experience and then been surprised when someone reminded you of it, that's repression at work. Next, we have denial. This defense mechanism involves refusing to acknowledge reality or facts that are too uncomfortable to accept. Someone might deny that they have a problem with alcohol, for instance, despite clear evidence to the contrary. Then there's projection, where we attribute our own unacceptable thoughts, feelings, or motives to another person. For example, you might accuse someone else of being angry when, in fact, you're the one grappling with anger. These defense mechanisms serve to protect our psychological well-being. However, when overly relied upon, they can lead to unhealthy patterns of behavior and hinder our ability to deal with reality effectively. Remember, these mechanisms operate unconsciously. They're not something we consciously control, but understanding them can help us better navigate our mental landscape. Defense mechanisms, as Freud proposed, are our mind's way of protecting itself from distress. And while they can sometimes lead us astray, they also reflect our mind's incredible ability to adapt and survive in a complex world. So, how does Freud's psychoanalytic theory help us understand ourselves better? In this journey through Freud's psychoanalytic theory, we've explored the structure of the mind, delving into the ID, ego, and superego. These 3 elements of our psyche interact in complex ways, influencing our behavior, our desires, and our responses to the world around us. We've also looked at Freud's theory of psychosexual development, shedding light on how early experiences can shape our adult lives. Then we ventured into the realm of defense mechanisms, those subconscious strategies we use to protect ourselves from anxiety and uncomfortable realities. These mechanisms, while often invisible to us, can have a profound impact on our relationships, and our sense of self. Understanding these elements of Freud's theory gives us a window into our unconscious mind, offering insights into why we behave the way we do. While Freud's theories have been subject to much debate, they have undeniably shaped the field of psychology and our understanding of the human mind. Subscribe and don't forget to take care of yourselves. Goodbye.